When it comes to cinema, Australian movies often stand in a class of their own. In this video, I'm going to look at what could be considered to be some of the most iconic Australian movies made. So I'm going to start with what is perhaps one of the most well-known Australian movies. This movie was made in 1979 and it stormed into the box offices worldwide. Totally epic movie, Mad Max. So it was written and directed by an Australian, George Miller, and starred Mel Gibson as a vigilante police officer from the future who goes after a gang of thugs. The movie was so popular that it led to an entire franchise with 5 movies in total being made. Now let's jump ahead to 1996. The movie Shine was released. This starred Geoffrey Rush as a somewhat quirky prodigy piano player, David Helfgott. The movie follows his career as a concert pianist battling with the challenge of schizophrenia. Amongst many nominations and awards, most notably it earned an Oscar for Best Actor in a Leading Role for Geoffrey Rush. In 1986, the movie Crocodile Dundee was released. This is a classic Australian comedy. Sadly, it's also created a few bad stereotypes. However, it starred Paul Hogan as an Australian crocodile poacher, Mick Dundee, who somehow finds himself in New York with reporter Sue Charlton, played by Linda Kozlowski. Another brilliant Australian movie, the 1997 movie The Castle. This is a classic. It's a somewhat quirky Australian comedy about a family who've been told to leave their family home due to expansion at a nearby airport and their fight to stay. It stars many much-loved Australian actors and actresses, including Michael Caton and Anne Tenney. The 1994 comedy-drama movie Muriel's Wedding has now gone on to become a musical. This is a classic movie. It tells the story of Muriel Heslop, who decides to create her own destiny and sets off on a mission to find a groom and get married. The 1988 comedy movie Young Einstein was a bit of a surprise to everyone. It was a low-budget independent film created by and starring Yahoo Serious, who plays young Einstein, a somewhat quirky scientist who travels to Sydney to patent his invention of putting bubbles into beer. Now, one of Australia's most iconic movies, and possibly one of my favourites, would have to be the 1982 drama Man from Snowy River. Based on the poem by Banjo Paterson by the same name, it starred Sigrid Thornton and Tom Burlinson. It's essentially a Romeo and Juliet story set in Australia's high country. The 2002 drama Rabbit Proof Fence was based on a true story. It tells the story of Australia's shameful past of removing Aboriginal children from their homes to be raised as white children, and the epic journey of 3 girls who, having been forcibly removed from their homes, set out on an epic journey to return to their families. Most people know the plot for the 1995 movie Babe. It's the story of a humble pig who becomes famous after learning how to herd sheep. Another truly iconic Australian movie, and another one of my favourites, is the 1983 classic Phar Lap, starring Tom Burlinson. This movie tells the story of Phar Lap, who was one of Australia's greatest ever racehorses. The 1994 movie The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, is another brilliant Australian movie which tells the story of 2 drag queens and a transgender woman as they travel through Australia's outback in their bus. Along the way, they take their cabaret show to remote towns. Now, the final movie is only half Australian. The 2006 hit animated movie Happy Feet half qualifies as an Australian movie since all the animation was done by Sydney-based animation studio Animal Logic as part of a co-production with Warner Brothers. I'm sure everyone knows the story of Happy Feet, which tells the story of a little penguin who discovers that while he can't sing, like all the other penguins, he can, however, dance. Thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so, and help me to make it bigger and better. Please hit the like button and leave me a comment below. How many of these classic Australian movies have you watched? Which one is your favourite?